Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of The Northman. My name is Daniel, and joining me today are my fellow Norse gods. Anthony?
Where wolves' ears are, wolves' teeth are near.
Whoa, is this Dr. Seuss?
Oh my goodness, okay. I like it.
Yo, I went on Safari and I searched up Viking quotes, and that was an inspirational Viking quote.
What does that one mean, though?
The Volsunga Saga C19. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think it's referencing if there's someone in your camp that's tricky, they're going to come for you.
It's going to get sticky, you know?
Is that me?
Daniel's more of a wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. And Shahbaz. Shahbaz is the other one.
Hola.
Okay, sorry. What part of Norse mythology are you from?
I'm an immigrant. I'm an exchange Viking.
Oh, well, welcome to the show.
From Spain.
Do you have a favorite Norse god, Shay?
Not like really. Maybe like Thor, I guess.
Thor is a good choice. Solid
cool.
choice. Solid
Thor,
choice.
yeah.
You know, who's your favorite? Like some Voodoo-schmagel?
I think that's like a
Voodoo
German dish.
Schmodel? No. Yeah, Thor's up
Krampus?
there. Krampus. No, Krampus is not a Norse god. Yeah, I would say Thor is awesome. Obviously, because Marvel and everything too.
Right.
But I think just Thor in general is pretty cool. It's very dumb though in Norse mythology.
Yeah.
From reading the books, I know Anthony's reading like a Norse book too right now. It's very interesting seeing like the differences between how we see them in like comic books and in the Marvel films versus who these Norse beings really were.
But who's your favorite interpretation of Thor in film?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
I was gonna say
Vincent D'Onofrio is
100%.
the greatest Thor from Adventures in Babysitting. There you go. Thank you. I know. I felt like you were trying to challenge me right now.
No, I was trying to see if you'd agree with me.
Okay, good. Yeah, I want to make sure.
Yeah.
I didn't get it until you said it.
Have you seen Adventures in Babysitting though, Anthony?
Yeah.
Good movie.
Don't mess with the babysitter.
Don't say the F word.
Don't bleh, with the babysitter in the Disney Plus
god
cut.
is?
I was leading to you. Who was your favorite Norse god, Anthony? He's like, come back to me. Oh.
Back to me. I'm gonna say Odin Crowbeard.
Odin Crowbeard. Okay, good old Odin, all seeing.
OC.
As always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday, and watch out throughout the week for review episodes just like this one and all the latest movies and series. Make sure to follow us at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, join our Discord, and write into the show at
hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca.
Check out our show notes for all of those links and more. We did also just launch our official merchandise. We partner with the great folks over at Bonfire to release some really cool shirts and t-shirts, so definitely go check those out. All the links are in our descriptions below. You guys have been enjoying the shirt so far, right?
Loving the shirts, wearing it all the time.
You're not wearing it right now, though.
Yeah, but neither are you.
Damn, you got me. You got me.
I wear it sometimes.
You sound very excited about that. No, they're great. In all honesty, they're great shirts, and thank you to everyone who's purchased them already. It does a lot for our show and helping us grow. And
6 million sold already.
6 million sold. We should put that on like the McDonald's sign somewhere.
I put a down payment on that G5.
Like a Mercedes G5 or like the
plane.
The plane.
Oh wow, you're doing a lot better than we thought.
Yeah, damn.
That's pretty good.
Is he taking all of our shirt money?
People are going to return their shirts now. Ththey're not going to want to support us.
Yeah.
That's where the shirt money goes to the plane fund.
Yeah, these shirts also are $100,000 each. Clearly,
that's also true.
But the movie we are talking about today is The Northman. This is the latest film from Robert Eggers. You'll know his work from The Witch and from The Lighthouse. The cast includes Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Claes Bang, Anya Taylor-Joy, Ethan Hawke, Björk, and Willem Dafoe. The Northman releases exclusively in theaters April 22nd by Universal Pictures here in Canada and internationally, and Focus Features in the United States. And I want to say thank you to our friends at Universal Pictures Canada for inviting us to watch the film for a review. This has been one we've been looking forward to watching for a really long time, and Anthony is going to tell you what it's all about.
From visionary director Robert Eggers comes The Northman, an action-filled epic that follows a young Viking prince on his quest to avenge his father's murder.
Thank you very much. Short and sweet. This is literally straight to the point with this film, and that's what I really liked about it. Shay, I'm going to get you to start us off with your first reaction and where you were going into this movie.
For sure. So I remember before, when the trailer came out, we all thought it was a really cool trailer. The trailer kind of made it seem like a very complex, extremely heavy in lore kind of a movie. And I'm happy that after watching it, the film was very straightforward to grasp. There's definitely a lot of lore in it. There's definitely a lot of mythology in it, but it never felt that it went over your head. I remember before we started watching this movie, though, Daniel, you were super excited. You were even wearing like a whole wolf getup, and you had black face paint on.
I was going to bring my Mjolnir with me as well too.
You were also holding somebody's heart. What was that?
I was just really excited. It was my own heart, actually. Look how fast it's beating.
Oh my goodness.
No, I was really excited. I'm a big fan of Robert Eggers and Norse mythology. So like going into this, like I was like, oh, this is like two things I really like, kind of roll into one, which is great.
But the movie itself was very entertaining, very brutal. I think though at some points it does slow down a bit. There's definitely a bit of a slow crawl at certain moments, and it was kind of taking me out. But if you trim about 15 minutes out of this film, it is just fantastic. There's great performances by everybody. Alexander Skarsgård is just such a beast. He's so wild and manic in this movie that it's hard to recognize him sometimes. You look at him and you're like, who are you? You're one of the Skarsgård brothers. And I know that he hasn't maybe had the best career or the biggest career, but he was fantastic in it. Anya Taylor-Joy is fantastic. Nicole Kidman was actually the only person initially in the film when I was like, I don't know if I agree with this casting because she seems too big for this movie. But then around the halfway point of this film, I got her character and I understood it, and I was like, I get why they put her in this movie. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she was also one of those in the trailer. You see Ethan Hawke, and you're like, okay, like how big of a role are they really going to play? But we also see, and this is not a spoiler. In the trailer, we see Alexander Skarsgård's character. He wants to avenge his father, he wants to save his mother, and he wants to kill the guy that kind of did this, right? So Ethan Hawke does not get as much screen time in this film as you would hope, but the time he is in this film, he has such an awesome presence. I really love the presence that Ethan Hawke has, and he fits right in home within this world.
Yes.
Him and Willem Dafoe, again, not a lot of screen time, but the time that they do get, I think is really valuable.
Yeah, I think they're all just such fantastic performances, and even the locales and how they shot this film, I felt completely transported to the time period that they were trying to show us.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Andy, where are you at?
It reminded me, you remember the scene in Gladiator in the beginning where they fight the barbarian hordes?
Yes.
Yes.
War?
Like,
definitely.
that's what it felt like. But yeah, whoever was their set locator did a fantastic job finding the landscape and the environment to put these characters in to tell this story. But I really like this film. I love Norse mythology, and I love this whole take on just revenge and getting his father's revenge. But yeah, Alexander Skarsgård, this is the second time we've seen him with a shirt off in a movie. That's like, we'll say mostly with the shirt off. Mm-hmm. But he is absolutely a beast. He's brutal. He portrays the Viking person that you would think of that at that time. And he looks legitimately like he was pulled from that time to this time to tell the story.
Yeah, there's like a primalness to him.
Yes.
And a vulnerability because he also has to, kind of become a different character later on in the film.
100%.
But yeah, it's like a raw performance that he's giving here.
And it's nice to see, just because, he hasn't had the most exciting career, but like there's something hiding behind that wall, and this movie really showcases his acting performance. But yeah, his character goes through a bunch of different changes from being this barbarian, merciless killer to someone who falls in love to finding revenge and just this whole thing about save your tear for when you need it the most.
Yeah, that's the Weekend lyric, right?
Save your tears for another day.
Yeah.
I didn't do that on purpose.
It sounded like you did, though.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, like I think when you go into a film like this, the first thing that you think of is the battles, the blood, the gore, the brutality. Usually at that time there's a lot of sex, and it's there, but it doesn't overpower the movie, which I liked. Like it really was. Robert was really focusing on telling this revenge story and making it, we'll say, being the most approachable film that he has in his library, and having like yes, there's a lot of like Norse things that are happening, and for me, I'm a little bit ventured into that world, and I know a little bit of it. But it wasn't so much where I'm like, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, and we heard stories before this movie came out that, like, oh, you have to have like a degree in like Norse mythology to understand what's going on. I'm like, it didn't really feel like that, because in all honesty, like, if you've ever seen a Thor movie, I think there's enough in a Thor movie or Thor Ragnarok or Thor the Dark World that you kind of get like, oh, Odin and Thor and Loki and Fenrir and the characters like this, like, yeah, like, but that's not the point. Like, people talk to it. It's almost like they like, and it is like they approach things as like religious figures for them, right? So it wouldn't be any different of somebody talking about like Catholicism or anything else in a film, right?
Yeah.
It never felt inaccessible.
No, it didn't. And it's it's just so interesting that we heard going into this movie that, oh, like, it was really difficult to follow, because out of everything that Eggers has put out, this is, I think, the most straightforward film, beginning to end.
I would say if you're a fan of The Last God of War, where they go into that realm of Norse mythology, I think this movie is for you.
Yeah.
There are points for me that I felt like it's a slow burn, and I feel a little tired. But I think the overall experience, and it's usually that tiredness or me feeling like I want to fall asleep at this point, was usually in the beginning. Once that passes, you're like engaged throughout the whole film. Right. But yeah, like this is a great film. It's surprising to see a film like this be liked so much by us. For me personally. Yeah,
and I think that's also where I kind of want to jump off with my thoughts, is because, like, this is a blockbuster film. This film has a $90 million, $100 million budget. And it's like an original film, and it's, it looks beautiful. And this reminds me of like a Gladiator type movie, like a movie that we used to get a lot more often, right, where we would see like Troy or things like that, of like this large scale, like thousands of years ago stories, these epics, these sagas. And I really liked it. Yeah, there's definitely moments in this film that it slows down. But I think it will make up for it in the next scene, because I don't think everything needs to be super fast, and this movie takes its time with developing its characters and, really making you kind of get lost into this world. And I by the end of this movie, I just really liked the world that we were in. Yeah. Like, I was just like, oh wow, like, as shitty as it is to live in the Viking times.
Wouldn't want to live in it.
No, wouldn't want to live in it, but it's so developed in the world and where we kind of are. I'm like, oh, like, I want to see more of this. I want to learn more about this, and especially like just having everything tied through Norse mythology and the Vikings, and having Alexander Skarsgård, being this Viking who then has to goes on this path of getting revenge. It is such an accessible story, and even though it is brutal, and there are a lot of moments where you're like, holy shit, like, this is bleak. It's never like over the top gratuitous, where we would see in sometimes movie, or I think of like 300, where it's like, here's violence for violence sake. I think the violence in this, it's not even the sword fights we were talking on the way home. These aren't sword fights that you would see like in a medieval film, where it's like, oh, here are these perfect, dancing choreographed like sword battles. These are brutal things, that like brutal attacks that you're seeing these characters, fighting for their lives, and I think that's what makes it feel all the more believable.
You really felt the weight of those swords in their hands when they battled. It wasn't something that was easily picked up and dueled. It took a lot of energy for those characters to even wield these weapons of that time.
Yeah.
This movie also felt like an A24 film. I think a lot of people will look at this and say, "Oh, is this A24?" And it's not.
Especially because his first two films were A24 films.
Yes. Yeah. It also feels a little bit like Green Knight. Like it gives you vibes of what we wanted Green Knight to be. Yeah. Because it did a really good job of telling the mythology, as well as this grounded story of revenge, but like having those two different worlds collide with one another, with Green Knight just being this adventure but doesn't have any sort of
real action to
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like how I looked at this film too. Like, it just gave me vibes of that, because it was similar. It's just
very similar.
The hero's journey of sorts.
Right.
Yeah, what I liked about this movie as well is it's very small scale. Like, you see enough people living in these villages, and they don't spend too much time kind of spending in a lot of villages and a lot of unnecessary CG characters kind of popping up. It's only like a handful of people, really.
Right.
So you always feel like they're telling such a personal story, and it is a personal story. And
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it a lot.
Yeah, definitely that. And seeing, Alexander Skarsgård's character's progression through this, and there are moments of like this mysticism within it as well too. And of course, bringing in the Norse mythology, you're also going to be getting like this sense of magic in the world, and like, is this real magic? Is this like really happening? Is this happening in his head? Are they just tripping out on some mushrooms right now? Because we also see some scenes of that in the movie. But it's really cool, and I really like the way they kind of grounded the Norse mythology in it. But also there's some really crazy things that happen in this movie too that you're like, okay, this is where we are.
There's a lot of like gasps and a lot of like, oh, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't expect that, and that's what I liked about this film. It gave you that plot twist where you weren't expecting something to happen. Like you go into this movie knowing that this is a revenge tale, so he's on this path of going to kill someone, but there's so much little intricacies that lead up to it and add to his revenge tale that he finds that he might sense that maybe is my revenge really warranted?
Right. Is this like, and the thing that I've been wanting my whole life, it's also that thing of like, once you've gone after the thing, that once you had the thing that you've been looking for your whole life, is this enough for you now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Really great themes. And I think, Anthony, when we reviewed X a couple weeks ago, like when we kind of were talking about it more, I'm like, the more I think about this movie, the more it's like staying within me. And I'm really excited for audiences to be able to check it out very soon on April 22nd.
Yeah.
Shall we get to our final recommendations?
Yeah.
Before we do, I just want to remind you that you could buy the Movie Podcast merch right now. Check out our show notes below wherever you're listening to this episode, or go to our socials at The Movie Podcast. You'll see a link there. Buy our merch if you like what we're doing. Of course, it helps support the show, keeps the lights and the mics on. Anthony, I'm going to get you to say whatever you were just saying to me, sorry.
And also subscribe on YouTube.
That's the one.
Yeah.
YouTube, Anthony's been doing some great work with our YouTube channel, really bringing up our subscribers, creating great videos for the reviews that we're making. So I just want to say thank you for always doing that.
You're welcome.
Now give us your final recommendation for The Northman.
This is a must watch, or what? It's a
Watch it. It's a watch it.
Must watch it.
It's a must watch.
It's a definite watch it for me. I think if you're into that world of mythology involving Thors and the North mythology, I think you'll like it. But I think anyone will like it. I think this is, again, a movie that anyone can watch, not the little kids.
Not for the
Bring
little
them
kids.
to
no.
Sonic.
Little kids.
Yeah.
While
They're
they're
like,
watching
is Thor in
Sonic,
this movie? No.
you can watch this movie, but yeah, this is not the Thor that you want. But yeah, no, this is a definite watch it for me. I loved it.
Awesome. Shahbaz.
For someone who is not super into Norse mythology, I really liked this film, and I think that even if you don't have too much knowledge about what the mythology is, you'll still have a good time. You'll be able to grasp and pick up what's kind of going on. So yeah, I'd say watch it for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, for me too, it's a watch it. I think you're gonna have a great time with this movie. It's great to see just a big original blockbuster film out there that you could go and support and just have a good time and enjoy the action. And it's very it's a stunning movie to look at. It's beautiful cinematography. It's very just, like we were saying, it's very raw feeling. It's brutal, and I think it's Robert Eggers' best film. So it's high praise from all of us here, and I think you're going to have a great time with it. As always, thank you for listening to the Movie Podcast review of The Northman. I just want to remind you, of course, you could catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. And watch out throughout the week for our review episodes and all the latest movies and series. You could also follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, join our Discord, and write into the show at
hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca.
Thank you so much again for listening. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.